You know that big meeting we talked about with all the admirals and generals? Now Trump is attending that meeting. What is the next step? What are we seeing? Is it just a hoorah? Again, you can't tell me that the Department of War, Department of Defense, Pete Hegseth, calls all these people from all over the world to have a meeting in Quantico, and all of a sudden the president is going to attend and address them as well. What is going on with this meeting? Is it something that we should be worried about? At the same time, Trump is trying to get peace in the Middle East, trying to get peace in Russia, Ukraine. But why are we all of a sudden meeting with generals and admirals? We're going to talk about that story a little bit more. There's been a little bit more light shed on the situation, so we're going to dive into that one a little bit. Also, we're going to talk about what J.D. Vance just said about the shutdown. Why I believe that we should have this shutdown, and here is why we'll discuss it. Absolutely not the most popular thing when it comes to Republicans or Democrats. But I'm going to tell you, I believe we should shut it down and why. Also, we're going to talk about the cities. Vivek came out with a phenomenal comment. Now, you know, Vivek is running for Ohio governor, so you haven't seen him in the national spotlight. But again, this man is brilliant. He's smart. Now, again, his beliefs, his religion's a little strange for me, but wait till you hear what he said, because he brings the facts and brings the numbers to the cities and the problems. He brings up his own cities to say, hey, here's the problem. I mean, studies show we could fix all this very quickly. I love what Vivek says here, and then we're going to dive into what Elon Musk says about our politicians. Our politicians are failing us. We're going to discuss why Canada and Britain both are getting failed by their politicians, and we'll discuss why. And then we're going to talk about what Elon Musk said about what the DOJ should do about it for American politicians, because he says they're taking advantage of you. He saw it firsthand. And he said, if we really want to clean up America, it starts with getting rid of some of these politicians. Wait till you hear what he said too. A lot of quotes today, a lot of big news today. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. We're back on farm. If you notice, if you watched our vlogs on my wife's channel or on my channel, we have been away for the weekend. We always take a weekend away right after big gardening season finishes, after all the things are born. Now what's so funny is it doesn't stop. It just starts a new season for us with fall gardening and fall calving, fall lambing, and then of course having piglets. But we kind of take a weekend away just to get ready for that too, and just take a break for those 2 days. So check our vlogs out if you want to know a little bit more. Also check us out on Facebook. I finally got put back on Facebook. Follow me on Colby Mack. That allows you to see, again, more of my life. We can talk a lot more, and our goal is to just share our life with you and showing prepping, homesteading, and our family. Now let's dive into the stories of the day, because that's why you're here. First, let's talk about this meeting in Quantico and what Trump just said. Now, you remember Pete Hegseth said that we were having this take place. We were all kind of skeptical of what this means. I had a friend message me that follows us pretty regularly, and he said, you know, what if this was set up because they knew the Charlie Kirk thing may blow up into a catastrophic event, meaning a situation where we may see a left versus right, a good versus evil, a very big battle. Well, what I think happened was the right didn't retaliate to a point of being crazy like the left. What we did is we prayed, we went to church, our numbers are up, and we're hoping for a revival to start, not war. So this could have been something just saying, hey, what if? We don't know. But see, now that it's kind of calmed down with the Republicans and conservatives embracing the tragedy as a way that God can use it. Wait till you hear this. There's a new report that Trump will attend this meeting with the generals and admirals. So again, if this was a hoorah session, meaning, you know, you're just saying, okay, I just want to thank you for all you've done. I don't know if I would see that the Trump administration, trying to be tight on budgets, would bring every general and admiral that has power to Virginia to make this, you know, speech of how grateful he is of them. It could be simply something just saying, I'm going to cheerlead for you because I believe in you. But there could be more to that. Now, after the domestic situations, you know, you see that Chicago now has troops there. Memphis now has troops there. They've talked about California, troops there. So it could have been one of those things where Trump is saying, look, I'm going to bring all of you here because I want you to see the dangers of what we're facing, but I want you to put your guys on standby. I do not want to see, you know, martial law or blood in the streets. That could have been what it is. However, here's the catch. He brought in people from overseas too, admirals and generals from overseas. So I don't know if this is a domestic issue or international. What it could be is something we don't know. It could be something as simple as we've had a lot of threats against us, and now we're starting to see them come to fruition. And we want to make sure all you generals and admirals are looking out for it. Now, they could have sent that out in a memo, but it may be something even more serious. Pay attention to this story. I know we've talked about it, and it's very, very vague so far. To me, that shows the vagueness and the fact that no one's talking about it. It's almost a little bit more hush-hush. I think that shows that this is something extremely serious. Now, at the same time this is going on, this brings up the fact of the shutdowns. Now, J.D. Vance came out and stated, he said, this is not the problem of the Republicans. He said, this is an issue that is absolutely a partisan issue for the Democrats. Okay, so what the Democrats want, I just want you to understand, they want Medicare for all. We've talked about that. Now, we're broke. I'm sorry, we are broke. I know if you are in debt up to your eyeballs or you have medical debt, I could not imagine what you're going through. Me and Misty talked about a gentleman yesterday that didn't have insurance, and now he is tied up in medical debt, and it's so heartbreaking. So we need to fix the problem. But having more government intervention in our life is not the answer. See, what the Democrats want to tell you is they want Medicare for all. What they don't tell you is they're wanting Medicare also for illegal immigration. They're wanting to add to the Medicare for all and cover every person in the United States, including people that are here illegally still. Not just the ones on visas, but the ones who just randomly walk in. This is where the problem remains. And this is where I hope that Trump and Vance and his team stand strong. Now, here's the problem. You got the weaklings in politicians when it comes to Congress and Senate. Are they going to be able to stand tall? They have sent a clean bill. Now, I hate continuing resolution, what they call CR bills, continuing resolutions. I hate those bills. That's kick the can down the road. I hate spending bills. I hate all of it. But we can't just keep adding extra dollars to that and making millions upon millions and billions upon billions of more waste. Our kids cannot afford it. So here's what my plan is. Trump said that October 1st, that is literally tomorrow, he said if we do not have a plan, we're going to start firing people. If we start firing people, what we're going to see is a help to our system, because we probably don't need all these workers anyway. There was a report that 100,000 people were going to give their resignations today so they wouldn't be quote unquote fired. Look, I don't want people to lose their job, but the public sector should not be hiring all these people. Since Trump's been in office, there has been a job loss on the federal workers. On the private workers, it's went up. So it shows people need to be in the workforce. It shows that private companies are hiring. We hired this year. As a company, as a ministry, we hired. So it shows that people are looking for jobs and people to fill those jobs. And the more we deport, the more we're starting to see that we need those people to fill those jobs. However, we don't need the federal government hiring these. See, Democrats' answer for everything is let's make government bigger and have government intervention in their lives. Do you think that's a good answer? Now, prime example, you know what Canada just put out? This is why government intervention in our life is not better. This from Wall Street Mav. It says, Canada is forcing all Canadians to hand in their 2A rights, their firearms. It says they have 1 year to get compensation by handing in their weaponry. And it says starting October 26th, it will become a criminal. You will become a criminal to own a weapon. Now, this was reported by 2 different people in Alberta. Now, this is the start of what they're doing to reference what Australia and UK did. UK just came out this week and stated that the reason they're bringing in so many Muslims and Islamic people from all over the world is because these 50 or 60 countries that need to send them over here, it's because climate change. So government now is wanting to bring them in, and because of that, because we need to know where they're at, we're going to impact with digital ID, because that will help us keep up with them, and also you as Brits. You see how that worked? You see how more government intervention in our life in Canada and UK and even Australia has not been better. You know, Germany, they said when they go through winter, they're struggling to be able to provide energy because of their initiatives. More government intervention in our life is not better. So what J.D. Vance came out and stated, he said, this problem is a Democratic problem. But shutdown should not happen. But if it does, it is a Democratic problem. I don't care who they blame. They could blame Trump's administration. I really don't care. As a concerned citizen who is paying taxes, I hope they shut it down. And I hope they have mass layoffs. I do not want you to lose your jobs. Please understand what I'm saying here. But the government is too big. If we don't start cutting What happens is the government gets so big and then we have a meltdown. A word from today's sponsored Chapter. Now, Chapter's been with me for a few months, and if you're 65 and older, I want you to focus right now, or if you're about to be. You know, open enrollment's coming around. When you talk about supplements and parts and the dangers of do I have this coverage right? Is this coverage wrong? Do I understand Medicare? A lot of people don't. I'll be honest with you. I have not thought much about it. And then when I started digging into it and realizing there's a problem here and it's how hard it is, my dad stayed on the phone for like 6 to 7 hours the other day trying to figure out a bill and how they were charging his supplement policy. See, it's hard. Well, that's where Chapter comes alongside you. Call this number below. They come and help you not only get the very best deal, they search all the plans and they advise you. They work for free for you, meaning it costs you nothing. It's free. Please check them out. The average person that uses Chapter saves $1,100. I've had testimonial after testimonial after testimonial sent back to me from emails and messages alike saying they saved $800, $900, $1,000. I had one person save $1,300. One saved $1,240. There was one person that said, hey, my plan was great. They said that I was on the very best plan. See, it gave her a peace of mind. Check with Chapter today. If you're 65 and older, about to be, and you have questions or your concerns about Medicare and about supplements and parts, and all these people have opinions, and sometimes they may not benefit you, but Chapter can because they work for you. Check with them today. We have spent way too much money, and if we don't start cutting back now, we're going to get into a massive meltdown, which is going to be a depression. Pay attention to these stories. The shutdown needs to happen. Now, Trump, Vance knows it will probably hurt them too. Republicans know it probably hurts them too because it makes them look weak. But I'm sick of these continuing resolutions bills. I'm sick of overspending. I'm sick of funding the government too much. And the more answers that we want the government to answer, the more questions we have, the more problems we have, we think the solution is government. I'm sorry. That is the wrong outlook. The people is the answer, not government. So even though no sides won't shut down, they want to blame each other, me as a conservative libertarian, I'm all for shutdown because this is the kind of tough love we need to have in a country to fix our problem. Now let's go back to the city situation and the problems we're having. You see the uptick in, what's so amazing is after the tragedy, after some of these situations that's happened all over the United States, conservatives, even though the battle has been towards the church, even though the battle has been towards conservatives such as ICE facilities in the Trump administration, even though Charlie Kirk's assassination, all these things, all these situations, conservatives have been more apt to pray and to have revival. Democrats are pushing for even more violence. Leftists are pushing more violence. Did you hear what Kamala said? Kamala said that we need to face fire with fire. Now, there's no fire on our side, but she made sure to tell her supporters, while this violence is going on, we need to push for more survival in the streets. We need to go to the streets. Now, that doesn't sound like peaceful, does it? That sounds like rioting and protesting. Well, right now they're tearing up the cities. I want you to listen to what Vivek said. This is probably my favorite comment that I read over the last few days. I'm going to kind of elaborate on it a little bit more too. It says, the vast majority of crimes are committed by a very small number of people. Listen to these numbers. Over 50% of urban crimes, meaning African-American crimes, city crimes, problems that they're having in the inner city, is committed by only 5% of the city's locations, the people that live in those locations. It's possible to bring down the drastic problem with crime with precision by worrying about the 5% and not just the crime itself. Meaning, if there's 50% of the crime happening, now we want to solve all the crime problems, and that's what the cities, that's why Trump is sending people in Memphis and into Chicago. I like the fact they're more of a defensive posture. They're not trying to cause problems. But here's the thing. If Vivek is right, and his numbers, he says, statistically are right for the cities. He even brought up Cincinnati, brought up Cleveland. So if you can handle just 5% of the city population that is over and over and over committing these crimes, why don't we lock them up, either through prison or a mental institution? He said 50% of the crimes would go away if you just took 5% of the population and put them where they are supposed to be. North Carolina, the situation with the poor little Ukrainian girl. That guy had been arrested 14 times. Another situation where a father came out and, man, God bless him, because his 22-year-old daughter just was murdered in the streets by someone who had been convicted over 10 times. What are we doing? You know what that is? That's a soft on crime policy by the liberals and left to cause chaos in the cities to make it where they can control the cities. Vivek came back and says, it's not rocket science. He said, for instance, in Columbus, Ohio, he says, less than 500 people are committing 50% of the crimes. 500 people. 500 people is contributing to 50% of the problems in that one city. He said, if we just solve these problems in these liberal cities. The answer is to make it easy. The answer is to make it real easy, he said, because if we have repeatedly people committing crimes, just get them off the street. He said, there should be no low bail. There should be no third strike you're out. There should be no 10th strike you're out. He said, if they're committing crimes, lock them up. It's that simple. He said, not only do we need to make sure the criminals are locked up, he said, we need to open up the psychiatric institutions once again to, if prison can't hold them, these psychiatric wards can. Someone asked him, he said, how do you think you can find all these people? With millions of people in the city, how can you find them? He said, it's so simple. He said, because the same people that are committing over and over and over and over again, he said, I promise you they're going to commit again. You bust them right there. He said, and then you lock them up for good. He said, this would solve the problem. Just think if you could clean up Columbus, Ohio, or any of these urban cities by locking up 500 people, or locking up 5% of whatever the population is, because they're committing crimes over and over and over again. It's a simple equation. You tell me, why in the world would these leftist states, leftist cities not want that? Ask yourself that. Why would they honestly want people just free to commit crime again? There's only one answer. Chaos brings control, brings regulation, and brings power to the leadership. And the leadership is the same failed leadership for the last 40, 50, 60 years. Most of these cities have been led by the same style leadership for years upon years upon years upon years. It's time for a change. I actually like the fact that now Republicans are not scared to talk about this. I'm sick and tired of Republicans. It's kind of like they're weaving. They weave around the problem and they kind of make it sound like they're talking about it, but they could always go back and double back and be like, oh no, we wasn't discussing that. I love the fact that Vivek called it out. I love the fact that Trump's calling it out. I love the fact that JD's calling it out and people like Elon Musk are calling it out. The problem is the city, the leftist ideology, and the fact that we're not giving fathers in homes and a strict policy of locking people up when they do wrong. And guess what? If your parents are letting you out at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old and you're the ones committing crimes, lock the parents up. You know how much that would solve? It would solve a lot of problems and our cities would be safe once again. I want to mention two more stories and then we'll talk about what Elon said because I think it wraps all this up in a very nice bow. It says this, U.S. Embassy in Madagascar issues shelter-in-place warnings. Protests are rocking major cities. Flights are disrupted and the U.S. Embassy is telling citizens to shelter in place because of the dangers of what's going on. It says the airport is still open, but don't count on being smooth travel because a lot of the U.S. Embassy people are not allowed to get out. Now, the reason I bring this up, and this has nothing to do with the main stories today, but this could have to do with the admirals and the generals coming. This could also deal with the fact that this proves to me is that sometimes some of these places are not safe for our people to be there. I know we like Madagascar vanilla. I know we want the people of Madagascar, doing well. But sometimes I would rather just not police the world so that way we won't put our people in harm. I think about, I know Israel is one of our biggest allies. It's not Madagascar. But, we had a lot of people in the embassy and a lot of people that lived there and they got taken hostage. Sometimes I think that if we would just realize that not to be an isolationist, but to kind of pull back some and just say, you know what, we want our military to have Bagram or we want our military to have these sites, but they're very, very secure. Sometimes we don't need civilians there, though, because the civilian problem could be the fact that gives a leverage for other guerrilla warfare or other governments that want to do harm to America, like the situation with shelter in place. I want to share one more story about Trump and what he just did, and this proves to me that we're making the right decisions, but I feel like because government's so big, we're having to do it so slow. So you see the situation now, what are we going to do with these people at the U.S. Embassy in Madagascar? How long can they shelter in place? How safe is that? But look at the situation. I'm going to bring this up. Trump just deported a plane full of Iranians. He did not do it with a primetime speech. He did not do it with a press release. He just simply said, we're done. bringing people in. It says roughly 100 Iranians were loaded onto a U.S. chartered flight out of Louisiana and sent back to Iran. They had a quick pit stop in Qatar, but other than that, they flew back and they're done. We are tired of people coming here, and they're saying they're here because they want to get away from the problems of some of these Middle Eastern countries. He said, we're not taking them anymore. So when you think about these two stories, they go hand in hand because, look, we have people across the world that we need to probably get back here and just say, you know what, let's just wrap this up in a bow and say, let's bring our people back. We have so much technology now. If we need something done in Madagascar, if we have military there, if we have installments there, great. But if we don't, let's just bring our civilians back. At the same time, as we bring our civilians back and as we bring people home, it's good that we're seeing these people deported. Now, is immigration bad overall? No, there could be recruitments. There could be good people that could be utilized. There's a lot of smart people here in America that has assimilated and brought great things to America. But what we see with a lot of these Middle Eastern countries, the people that are sitting over here are not assimilating, and they're here to cause more problems. Again, let's take overall, what has the Muslim population done for UK, Canada, or America? Ask yourself that. What has the Muslim population contributed? What has the Somalis in Minnesota absolutely contributed to Americans' sovereignty and health and freedom? Ask yourself that. Why is it wise for us to keep our people over at Madagascar? Do we really get that many benefits? Do we eat that much vanilla? What else do we get from Madagascar? Some chocolate? Why do we need an embassy over there? See, these stories go good together because I want you to see the value of not isolation, but bringing our people home. Because I believe when we have people across the world, it gives leverage to other countries to cause problems. What I'd love to see is us just get so strong in America, and our borders so strong, and our people so strong, and let's get everybody out so therefore no one wants to wake the sleeping bear. And if they do, we become a giant, and then we can handle the situation wherever it is. Puerto Rico, Madagascar, Vietnam, China, Russia, wherever it may be. But at that point, we're not in forever wars. We're not people all over the world. We're not policing everybody's situations. We're literally just staying here, making a strong country. I think that would be for the wisest. Now, I want to end with this. Elon said, why do we have all these problems? I know Obama and Biden and even Bush and some of these presidents cause a lot of the issues, but I actually think a lot of our problems comes down to Congress. I want you to listen to what Elon Musk just said. He's pushing the DOJ. Now, the DOJ, I think are so worthless, but I want you to listen to what Elon said because I think it speaks volumes of the problems that we face. Because he said, you know what I learned through when I was in Doge, what I learned through when I was actually in Washington is that it's broken and it cannot be fixed without something drastic happening. He said, I'm urging to arrest all politicians that are implicated in large-scale money laundering operations involving taxpayer funds funneled into NGOs. He says, I'm calling on AG Bondi to put the hammer down because what I realized is this swamp is so murky and deep that so many of these politicians have their hands in so much dirty money, and it's the politicians that are taking the taxpayers' money. He said, not as in they're just funding the money to them. He said they're going through all these little loopholes, all these little places, and ultimately they're taking advantage of the taxpayer, all the while adding to the debt. He said that's why Doge could not do what it needed to truthfully do, because there were so many politicians on both sides that had their hands in the cookie jar. He said it's time to handle that. When we talk about all the issues that we're having, we can blame a lot on a lot of presidents. We can blame a lot on a lot of weakness through the government. But truthfully, a lot of our problems is the Senate and Congress. They're the ones that confirm the judicial activists, judges that Obama and Biden put in. Remember, a lot of Republicans signed on that too. They're the ones that are appropriating your money. I laugh because when Doge was finding all this worthless, frivolous spending, guess who put that money there? Guess who appropriated the money for the shrimp to walk on a treadmill underwater, and we need to count their beats of how they're walking and make sure that we understand the shrimp better? Why we needed goats on a roof? Why we needed this or that? It makes no sense. You know why? You know who did that? Congress. So when they're coming out now, well, we need to quit spending. We need to not shut down the government because we need to keep spending money. And do you realize they're the ones putting us in the hole that we're in? So Elon's words, along with Vivek's words, along with the fact of Trump trying to get peace, along with J.D. Vance saying the problem in the Senate and the problem in the government right now is we're spending way too much money, and we will see a shutdown probably tomorrow. So we have a president who is willing to fire a lot of people to clean the budget. We have a president who is willing to have peace across the world. We have a vice president who is saying, look, we just want a clean version of continuing the money to be spent that needs to be spent. Other than that, we're not adding new spending. We have people running for governor like Vivek who is saying the problem with the cities is literally about 5% of people, and he brings the numbers to show it. Then we have people like Elon who tried to help the government, being the richest man in the world, and all of a sudden he realizes you can't fix a broken system because the leaders are the ones causing the problems, Congress and Senate. Here's what I've realized through all this. The answers are out there, guys. If we really want to fix America, it's very simple. But it's going to take us cutting our budget, making hard decisions, arresting people that shouldn't be on the streets, and also getting these politicians out of Washington. When we start doing those things, we're going to fix America and heal it. And on the top of that, with the tragedy with Charlie, revival is sparking out. Just think if we could do all that, bringing people home, sending people away, strengthening America. Think of how amazing that would be. It's so simple. It's just you have a bunch of politicians that are in the way. That's the truth. Trump can fix a lot of this. RFK can fix a lot of this, but guess who's standing in the way? It's not just the Democrats. It's the Rhino Republicans too. Get these people out of Washington, and we'll start healing America. Guys, give me your thoughts on today's video on what Vivek said. I thought that was probably one of the biggest comments of the day. What Elon said about let's make a rest, and what Trump is doing. They're working great together, and when they work all together and they're on the same page, we actually can make a major change. People like Vivek, Elon, Trump, DeSantis, Rubio, Vance, love them or hate them, and sometimes their politics are crazy, sometimes their mouths are bad, sometimes their religion's not what we want, but ultimately I do believe they love America, and I do believe they want the best for America. And to be honest with you, I'm seeing the other side, and the other side doesn't look like they're actually working for America. It looks like they're wanting to keep taking advantage of America. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.